Hi, my name is Jim Dechert. I'm 69 years old. I just graduated from college 10 years ago, and I'm just love to cook.
Yes, Chef.
Hello, and welcome to the Redirect Podcast, where we have spirited conversations and tell stories about finding purpose in retirement. For us, retirement isn't an ending, it's a beginning. Time to redirect your energy, wisdom, and passion toward new horizons. Whether you've recently retired, are planning for that transition, or are years into this journey, this podcast is your companion in navigating this meaningful chapter of life. Adam, Curt, how are you guys today?
Lovely.
I'm doing great.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's awesome. Well, here we are again in the studio. You know what I love about what we're doing? I love the fact that we get to bring on great guests, who are also finding purpose in their retirement. And that really does inspire us. So that's our opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So before we introduce today's guests, I've got a question for you guys. Have you ever followed a passion or a desire of yours from being a novice, never done it before, all the way through being as highly skilled as you really wanted it to be? Adam?
I've got a couple. I think as a hobby, I once was a cabinet maker, and I did that professionally, and I would say cabinet making is different than woodworking. And so my journey from cabinet making to woodworking, cabinet makers screw things together. They build boxes and hang them on the wall. Not a big deal. Woodworkers craft. And so my journey from cabinet making to woodworking, I wouldn't qualify myself as highly skilled, but growing in proficiency. There's things I like to do just to practice the particular technique and the like. One other one, completely nerdy. At work, I got tasked with coming up with this manpower forecasting thing, and it was a code we were trying to crack to determine how many people we were going to need throughout seasons and different types of projects, et cetera, et cetera. And I built an algorithm that totally worked, and it was, it was a decade-long problem that I fixed in about 3 months worth of trial and error on this algorithm, but I built it and it totally works. It's pretty freaking cool. Now it's like nobody cares about that. It's so nerdy. I'm embarrassed I even shared that story, but yeah, I'm pretty geeked about it.
Do you own the rights to this? Did you think about?
I feel like
maybe
I should.
We got a business coming. Curt, how about you?
Well, I guess what's important to me, what my passion is, what is a desire of myself to really get into and to really invest myself into is probably the Redirect Podcast and Redirect You. It is such a blessing. 3 years ago, this wasn't a being in my life, and now it is. So it's sort of a newly found love.
Yeah,
it's a new passion.
New skill.
It's a new desire. And as a result, I'm growing in so many ways, not only with a friendship with you two guys, but also having the opportunity to meet wonderful people that come into the studio to share their stories and to be enlightened on who they are, where they've come from, and what they're doing, which also inspires me. And even though I view this as something that it is personal, but it's also something that I think has a lot more to give. It has a lot more legs on it. And
you got runway. You got runway.
It's
on
bigger
there.
than me. It's inspiring. It's educational, and I don't know where it's going.
Well,
how about if I introduce today's guest? Today's friend of the Redirect Podcast is Jim Dechert. Having graduated from Purdue University with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and an MBA from the University of Indianapolis, Jim developed a passion for helping others develop leadership skills and achieve their career aspirations while working in the food ingredients business. During the 20 years Jim spent in operations, his teams were recognized as global leaders in safety and plant operations. Jim, while working for Quest International, moved from leading North and South American operations to leading their North American savory business unit. After being acquired by Givaudan, Jim moved into the role of sales head of North America. Jim retired in 2013 and returned to school to obtain an associate degree in culinary arts from the Art Institute of Ohio, Cincinnati campus. In 2016, Jim was introduced to Susie DeYoung. Susie, being born into a family of renowned chefs and who also co-founded Le Petit Pierre, needed volunteers to assist her in her new endeavor, Le Soup. Le Soup is dedicated to rescuing surplus food, transforming it into nutritious meals, and sharing it with those in need. Having started by a single act of kindness, Le Soup has grown into Ohio's largest chef-led food rescue initiative. In addition to volunteering in the kitchen, Jim has taught Le Soup's Give a Crock program at Reading Lockland Presbyterian Church, Milford High School Academy, Boys and Girl Club Price Hill, Purcell, Marion, and Roll High School. Jim is currently the board chair and treasurer of Le Soup. Jim, welcome to the Redirect Podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you here. So let's talk about, we've got a lot of things to talk about because you are just such a eclectic of things. Let's talk about your career life. And I don't want to get into necessarily all the things you did in your career, but let's talk about the time when you were thinking of leaving that career, that you were going into you're contemplating the pre-retirement stage, so to speak. Tell us about that moment of your time.
Well, that would, I always had a goal around retiring when I was 55. And so when I started to get close to 55, I started looking from a financial standpoint and also what am I going to do? So I went in to get some consulting, and they said, yeah, you're okay financially. What are you going to do? I said, well, I plan to travel and play some golf. And they looked at me and said, you're not ready for retirement. That's not a plan. I like to play golf, but it's only once a week, and I'm not continuously traveling. They said, well, what we predict is about 3 months, you'll rearrange all the spices in your wife's cabinet. You'll help her get organized because for 30 years she hasn't done it right. And and you'll go in there and use the old engineering mind, and you'll probably be divorced within 6 months. So come back to us when you have a plan. So I looked at these people. I said, hey, I didn't hire a shrink. I hired some financial consulting. And they said, yeah, well, come back when you have a plan. And what that happened is that I started reading articles because after they told me this, I had heightened awareness, and all of a sudden I saw article after article saying, what's your plan? If you don't have a plan, what are you retiring to versus what are you retiring from? Yeah. And that was eye-opening. As I continued with my career, I went forward and I started thinking about a passion that I have, which is cooking. And I've always had that passion. Started my career in a country club at 12:30 at night when my brother called and said they need a dishwasher. And so washed dishes till 4 in the morning. But I've always had this passion around cooking. So I started looking at schools around Cincinnati. I went to the Art Institute of Cincinnati. I talked to some of the chefs there. I went to the Culinary Art Institute, Cincinnati State, talked to some chefs there. And I really liked the Art Institute from the standpoint of it was really around the passion of cooking. And I thought about maybe opening a restaurant or doing something like that. So that's where I was. And then I went back to my consulting people. I said, this is 2 years later. I said, I got a plan. I'm going to go to culinary school. I'm going to learn how to cook.
Nice.
And so.
What did you pull forward of who you were in the work world to being, or is this totally different Jim? Is this the other Jim that has been suppressed because he's been working all the time, or did you pull a lot of stuff from who you were into this next passion of yours, or to your passion?
I think a little bit. Being an engineer, you can't help yourself. But and I was a chemical engineer, so cooking is
chemistry.
Cooking, and I worked in the food ingredients business for my entire life. So whether it was Givaudan with flavors, or A.E. Staley with corn syrup, or Quest with flavors and fragrances, okay. I've always worked with food ingredients, and so there's always chemistry in that. So cooking is really an extension of chemistry.
I want to take a step back because you said something I thought was really interesting. You wanted to retire at 55. What was your motivation for 55?
Well, that's interesting because I don't know what the proper motivation was, but from the time I started work, I said, I want to be financially independent. I don't know if it was really retiring at 55 as much as want to be financially independent at 55.
Very interesting.
You want to plot your own course and not be dictated by a W-2.
And having 4 kids and putting 4 kids through college, that was that kind of impeded the goal. But we ended up making it through that. But it was always that I could make a decision what I wanted to do. And pretty much through my career, the people I worked for knew I would do anything for money. I needed, they saw I had 4 kids. My aspirations were putting them through college. So, hey, can you go over and travel and do this? Sure. What about this? Sure. So it was always yes. And I was very grateful for all the support and help I had through my career. I owe a lot of people that.
What did you enjoy about your career?
Well, the main thing I really enjoyed, I kind of fixing things, but as an engineer, you always want to fix things. But the real joy came with building teams, because people are not like pumps and cars and things. You just can't fix them. And not necessarily people needed to be fixed, but if you want to put together a high-performance team, you have to have a common vision. You have to have some common values. And you have to have people that are willing to take risk. And finding the people that want to take risk, supporting them, having a common vision, all of a sudden you start to get a team that starts to work together. And that is a blast. I think one of the big things with as I grew teams, it wasn't just what can you do for the company or what can you do for me? What do you want to do with your career? How can I help you with your aspirations? Because as everyone knows, it gets narrower at the top.
Yeah.
So you have these competent people who are just intelligent, great leaders, and they're looking and saying, well, what do I have to wait for you to die? Yeah. And no. Continue what you're doing and continue to learn and look outside, because if your only job is working for me and that's all you can do, well, you're probably in the wrong place, because I want competition. I mean, everyone, you should have 4 or 5 different companies wishing they could get you, and you're staying because you're growing. And you're not staying because you have to. You're staying because you're growing and you love working with this team. And when you get that, all of a sudden, as I come up with ideas and get ready to jump off a cliff, I got people either trying to put a parachute on me or pull me back and saying, maybe not a great idea. So
or push you off because they want your spot.
Well, that can happen too.
So you have a plan. You made this decision. You went back to the people who you were kind of talking to and said, wait, I got a plan. What were the challenges?
So I think the major challenge was kind of my identity that was tied up into working, and all of a sudden you realize you're gonna make a step change. It's not going to be the same as it was when you were working, and no paycheck. And I think that those things came in, but then all of a sudden when I interviewed these schools, and I got it, I decided I was going to go to the Art Institute of Cincinnati, at the Cincinnati campus, and I talked to the people up there, and I started getting excited about saying, hey, this is going to be fun. I got something else to pour my energy into. I'm kind of a type A person, a little bit of a workaholic. So I just kind of looked at it and said, okay, that in combination with Jim gave me an opportunity to go over to Hungary and help with a startup of a new operation that they had put in Mako. And so that was, I got to live over in Hungary for, 3 months, and learning to work with a whole new group of people with a different culture, different language. And that was fun. And so that kind of gave me a transition away from the sales work I was doing, because a combination of sales and operations, the opportunity was well fitted for my skills over in Hungary. And so when I came back from Hungary, I came back knowing I was retiring. So I retired on a Friday and started school on Monday, which my wife loves.
Wow.
Yeah. So not that I'm, a type A workaholic, but yeah, pretty much started school right away. And
you didn't take a day off.
No. Well, and school's different. It was
Sure.
It was definitely different. My new best friends were 19 years old, and I'm in a class, and of course I'm there. A lot of people in the school were there and being financially supported. I was there paying the full price, so I was motivated. I wanted to learn. I was there to learn.
You were not striving like those students that were there are striving to be chefs within restaurants and this and have a career and whatever, but you was still just because you wanted to learn to cook.
I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn the techniques. I wanted to learn and understand how to make dishes complex and flavorful. And why do you do it this way? Why don't you do it this way? And what's the purpose of sautéing that and sautéing it at a high temperature? All these little things which kind of the engineer enjoyed.
Stimulated your engineering mind.
Stimulated me learning.
You were the guy asking all the questions.
Yeah.
You know, I bet the other students were like, here he comes.
Well, what was interesting is that I had to tone that down a little bit because I wasn't trying to be the smartest person in the class because I'm not. I like to surround myself by smart people, and I had these chefs. But I also think they weren't used to, when they told you to read the book, I said, okay, I read the book. So I do have some questions. I don't understand this. And so I started asking questions, and they go, what are you doing? You're interrupting class here. One of the chefs, Chef Gleason, he was my age, maybe a little bit younger, but not much. He kind of took me under his wing, and as we started to talk, I told him what my background was, and he said, "Oh, so you're not here just being a prick. You're actually want to learn." I said, "Yeah." And so,
surprise.
Yeah, and he was great. So as we would talk about different things, and then we'd break into our smaller groups, he'd come over and, do you have any other questions, Jim? What are you thinking about this, or do you understand why we do it this way? And he was just great. And he also helped me with some of the other chefs saying, hey, when he's in your class, he's going to ask questions. And,
a lot of them.
Yeah. And he's not doing it to make you look stupid or silly. He's doing it because he's really trying to learn. But nonetheless, it became a fun experience. Yeah. And then with the groups, it was fun working with kids. So, they were 19 to 22. There was a couple older people, maybe 35 or 40. As I was looking at the kids, I'm thinking, well, this one I would hire. This one I would hire. This one, he'll be lucky if he works at Applebee's. He'd come in and, hey, can I copy your recipes? And I said, well, sure. What do I care? But, you're not going to get a job.
Your skill set that you were talking about earlier at work, where you like to work with a team, you like to help with a team. Did you sort of, as that chef sort of mentored you and wrapped his arm around you, did you do that to any of the kids in the class?
Yeah, because it only took me a week to know that I'm never opening a restaurant. I mean, that's for young people working 16, 18 hours a day. If you want to be successful, it's a brutal industry. The financial people said the quickest way to lose $1 million, open a $2 million restaurant. So it was within a week or two that I said, you know what, this is fun, but I'm not going to open a restaurant. But the kids, and I call them kids, the young adults. I call them kids. But the young adults, as in any college situation, I mean, some of them are there to have fun and still maturing. But there was this one young adult lady that she was given 110%, and she was struggling. For me, it was like, wow, look at this. This person's given 110%. She's trying to do everything that she can to understand, to learn, paying attention, but struggling. So, when we get to select teams, and I told the chef that was leading the class, I said, put her in my group. Kind of mentor her and help her, and let her know that you don't have to solve multivariable calculus equations in cooking, but you don't have to understand everything if you understand some of the techniques, and you can move forward. You can make different notes than other people in order to help you through a class. Being part of my career now, all of a sudden it was translating into the class. Yeah. And it was also fun to as we continued, it was a 2-year degree, and as we came into the second year too, is we started to migrate in these teams toward the people and the young adults who had some passion and wanted to be in class, paying attention, and all of a sudden we'd start to say, "Oh, I want you on my team, and I want you on my team." Right. And then we started learning from each other.
So what'd you do right after you finished up culinary school?
I finished culinary school, and then all of a sudden I really started to lose my identity, because when I first retired, you get into groups and everyone, "What do you do? What do you do?" Well, I had a story. I'm going to culinary school. I retired. I'm going to culinary school. Then I got a little business card made so I could throw business cards down like I always did for 30 years. And so then when I finished culinary school, it was like, "What's your story now?" Yeah. "Well, what? I retired and I went to culinary school." And that got awkward, because when you're in a social situation, you're trying to say, you got a pattern, you always got a story.
There's an expectation of sharing. What am I doing right now?
Yeah, what are you doing now? "Well, I'm playing golf, and we're thinking about going to Australia." "Great. Talk to you tomorrow."
Good talk.
Good talk, Russ.
Weather's going to change.
Typical guy conversation right there. Can't you agree? Yeah.
So I was part of a men's group. I said, "Hey, I'm just going to buy some food, take it down to, cook it, take it down to Washington Park and give it away." And one of the guys said, "Oh, don't do that. I know this lady named Susie DeYoung. She started a nonprofit called La Soup, and she gets all her food for free." So he made an email introduction, and Susie said, "Well, why don't you come on down to over to Newtown on Round Bottom Road, where we have our place, and come and volunteer and help."
When is that?
That was in 2016. So I went over there and met Susie, met the two chefs that were working there, and they said, "Well, yeah, you want to cut some vegetables?" So that's what I did. I started chopping vegetables and working in the dish tank, whatever needed to be done. And then, some of my organization mind would, in the dish tank, I'm looking around, I'm going, "Well, you know what? If we stacked all this stuff up here and stacked all this stuff up here."
And you changed this shift and got this shipment delivered at this time.
Well, now that's interesting, because very much in the beginning, food would just come. Yeah. We had volunteers that were bringing food in, but every once in a while we get a farmer, and I think I'd been there 2 weeks, and this guy pulls up 1,200 pounds of sweet potatoes.
Oh, my.
I mean, it's a lot of sweet potatoes. So I asked Luke, who was one of the chefs, I said, "What are you going to do with all the sweet potatoes? I mean, you already had a plan." And he goes, "Well, we're going to make sweet potato soup."
There you go.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. So start peeling those sweet potatoes and chopping them up.
So who was bringing food for our audience, just to understand?
So the people that we had relationships, La Soup had relationships with Kroger's, Whole Foods, Gordon Food Service. So we had relationships with some of the grocers. And then Susie had relationships from her restaurant experience with some of the produce distributors and other distributors of food. If they had excess, she could contact them, and so they knew they could bring it to Round Bottom Road, where it would not get wasted. Yeah. Because most everything that we were recovering was being put in a landfill. And that's what Susie saw. She saw all this wasted food and people hungry, and why not take that food, which was perfectly good? It wasn't like it was rotten. Mm-hmm. It was just off its shelf life. So when you go to the store and you buy some produce, you expect it to last more than a day or 2 days. So what happens is the store have their internal shelf life, and because they want to keep their customers happy, that it hits that internal shelf life, and it gets disposed of.
Manager's discount.
Yeah, manager's discount.
Dumpster.
With the dumpster, but because giving it away created a liability. If they, come and just take what you want, that creates liability. But through the Emerson Act, when it's given to La Soup, which is a nonprofit, except for willful violation of, being an idiot, there's no liability. And they also get a tax deduction. Instead of having to pay for a dumpster removal, they can take it off their taxes as a donation. And so it's a kind of a win-win. And then there's local farmers that if they had excess, as opposed to just leaving the field, we can take it over and give it to La Soup, and they'll feed some people with it. I thought that was really cool, and working with Susie was just a delight.
We will rejoin our conversation in just a moment. Thank you for listening to the Redirect Podcast. We appreciate your support. Do you love what you're hearing? Don't keep it to yourself. Follow the Redirect Podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify and never miss an episode that inspires your next chapter in life's journey. While you're there, hit a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share your favorite episode with a friend who's ready for their own life pivot. And don't forget to join the conversation on Instagram at The Redirect Podcast. Comment, tag us, and let us know how you are redirecting your journey. Now let's get back to today's conversation. Le Soup has been in existence for how long?
Oh, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary.
10-year anniversary.
So 2015.
So you were there 1 year in. So you were sort of grassroots level.
I was in there very early on.
Yeah. And how has it evolved over time?
Well, it's gotten bigger. We went from one stove, a tilt skillet, and 2 ovens to now a 10,000 square foot facility in East Walnut Hills.
I'm learning, and it's just so cool to hear what you've said. And just to sort of serve as a recap, here's a guy that was working, that didn't know what he was going to do, put his mind to it, chased after something that was passionate for him, which was cooking, decided that he had an identity issue in work and had to find something else, so let's go to school. Took what he learned and what he did in the workplace by working with others in his class. After getting done with his college experience and having another skill set, decided, well, what can I do with this and how can I be engaged with it because I need something new in my life?
Still hadn't solved the new identity crisis. He found something to do for a couple of years at school, but still hadn't solved the identity crisis.
Right. And we haven't even talked if there's been a honeymoon stage or if there's been a period of time where he dipped back down after honeymoon stage. But I don't know if that's a part of the story going on. But I love thus far, you're going through what we're preaching here on the podcast to find things, prepare for it, go into something, pull your skill set ahead, and then try something different, as well as go do something with it. And now you're involved with Le Soup, and you're not just there just cutting vegetables.
No, well, that's kind of what my passion was, but then I started making some suggestions.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Was that the engineering brain coming back? And it keeps coming back, you know.
And with any small business, there's things that could be done, and so I've started making some suggestions. I was asked to join the board, so I joined the board, and that was fun. It was being with a group of people, and I was the minority. I was the only man on the board, so it was definitely different for me. But we had competent people that were donors, or we had a lawyer, and Susie brain was working at a mile a minute with opportunities. So when I joined the board, it was just a fun experience, and then my mind starts going around how to build a high performance team. You know, how do we have we had a common vision because Susie said that, but how do we get everyone kind of rowing in exactly the same direction? So as that started, then next thing I know, maybe you could be the president of the board.
Whoops.
And then our treasurer left, and then I became the treasurer too. But it wasn't about, I want to go be on a board. It was more of I could contribute and I could actually do something.
How can I help?
How can I help? That what ended up happening is that I got more involved in board stuff and less involved in the kitchen for about the last several years. And I am looking forward to just getting back in the kitchen, volunteering, which, you know, there's all sorts of volunteering opportunities with Le Soup. And because I'm looking at right now from my corporate experience, you know, succession planning and how do you continue to grow. Mm-hmm. And when I was back in operations, if a plant didn't have a succession plan, either they're going to have a succession plan or I was going to have a succession plan for the guy that didn't have one.
Right.
And so there's some challenges around that and saying, well, you know, looking out, 5-10 years, you know, this is probably not what I'm going to be doing 5 or 10 years from now. So I'm going to have to reinvent myself again because I don't think that's a healthy situation, having the same person in charge of a board for 10, 15 years, you know.
Yeah. So is the board the visioning part of the business now?
Yeah, I would say that it is the visioning part. We have one of our prongs is called Inspire, and so we're forming a network throughout Ohio, and there's some places in Indiana and down in Louisiana because we get a lot of support from the Joe Burrow Foundation. Also over in Athens. But what we're looking for is how do we help other communities start a La Soup type entity or program. We're not franchising ourselves, but we want to share our knowledge. We have an accelerator program to help other communities that want to look at doing something like this. How do you start it? How do you get into it? And we're finding some success in that area. It's starting a La Soup type organization. You need someone like a Susie DeYoung, who is a chef, energetic, willing to put in a lot of hours and be known in the community so that you can start getting food in and then having a facility and transforming it and distributing it. So there's some challenges. So that's kind of a fun thing that we're looking at as we expand. How do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we help other communities?
Yeah.
How does the distribution go? How do you find those outlets to take the goods that you've produced and share them?
Our logistics happens in two places. One is on the rescue side. How does the food get to La Soup? And then once we take it and convert it into meals or soups and freeze it, how do we distribute it throughout the community? And we call that our share partners that we have. And we have about 100 and some share partners that come to La Soup and say, hey, we're serving, we have this activity. We're serving some underserved kids. We could use 60 quarts of soup, and we can distribute that. I know at Reading Lackland Presbyterian Church had some kind of a dance class, and they said, well, if you can bring some food, if we can pick up some food, we'll have the little dance session, and then we'll give them soup when it's over. The same thing with the Boys and Girls Club, same thing with Little Lord's Gym. I mean, there's a lot of partners out there. And we do have right now we have a wait list that organizations that want us to share our soup with them. We currently bring in around 20,000 pounds of food a week and then convert it and put out about 40,000 servings a week. And there's still hungry people out there.
You know, there's another aspect about the product coming in, the food being rescued. Think about it when there's a power outage in town. Grocery stores have rules that if power is out for a certain period of time or generators aren't working, they shut everything down. Now, all of a sudden, if they're a partner of La Soup, they're on the hotline and saying, hey, guess what? We've got all this stuff in the freezer section. We got all this stuff in produce. We got all this stuff in meat sections ready. And what's very fascinating about what La Soup does, and Jim had an opportunity to have Dale and I down to La Soup, and we had a tour prior to this interview. It's sort of like a triage that all of a sudden, hey, we got a call, we got 12,000 pounds of sweet potatoes, and then all of a sudden the chefs go back into the whiteboard and they start making up recipes of what they can do with what comes in that day. And how cool is that to be able to be so thoughtful and so connected within a network to help in a situation of crisis, power outage, to then bring things in, to then say, okay, what do we got here? Let's make something with it. And then all of a sudden you've got all these distribution out. That is just tremendous.
And I look at the people that are the chefs. I mean, these are the brains. They're taking this in. You're a chef.
I am, but let's make sure there's an understanding. So I'm a trained chef from school, but the chefs that we have at La Soup, most of them have come out of the industry. And the difference is I've made risotto 60 times. They've made risotto 6,000 times. So the skill base that we have, and we're chef driven. So we're not just mom and pop soup kitchen where you have interested people coming in and saying, okay, we'll pour some cans and we'll mix this up and serve some spaghetti. We have chefs that the same soup that we're distributing, we have a retail section and we sell for $14 a quart. So the idea that Susie had is that people, just because they're underserved or poor, should not have to sacrifice quality and should have to eat something that is not of high quality. The other thing that La Soup is able to attract chefs is that in the restaurant industry, once the menu is set, there's not a lot of voting that goes on during meal service. Oh, I think I'll make it this way, or I think I'll make it this way. It's more of a production. Now, the creativity model comes into play during off sessions, and they decide what they're going to make on their menu and things. But once that's set, it's not as much creativity as it is production of high skilled production to be able to get something out hot, perfect. And you know the restaurants that can do that, because you say, wow, that was great. You go back, you take your friends, and they go, wow, that was great.
Fast and consistent.
Yeah.
It's consistent, and it's high quality, and especially in the fine dining, that's not easy. So I don't consider the type of chef that I am is not at the same caliber as the chefs that we have at Le Soup. They've seen so many variance and complexity in their career that they come in and they go, oh yeah, I know exactly what to do with this, and I've been there, done that. But what's fun for them is that tomorrow it's different, because you just don't know what's going to hit the door. Now, there's a lot of planning that goes, and we kind of know. But if something else happens, a power outage, and all of a sudden we get all this other stuff in, or a farmer calls us and says they got extra produce in large quantities, or I won't say who, but some grocery stores that maybe, well, if it snows, that's a bonus for us, because all of a sudden people don't go, either they shop and clean out the store, and then the store gets a shipment in, and then nobody's there to use it, and we get the positive benefits of that. At least it doesn't go in the landfill. But the variations that we get back at Le Soup makes it fun for the chefs. They get to create and use their creative skills much more than they would necessarily get in a fine dining restaurant or a restaurant in town.
I think
and the hours are a lot better too.
I think it is breathtaking to watch life play out for people and what God can do in someone's life. Here, you think some whim, some crazy idea, I want to retire at 55. Your financial planner says, try again. A couple of years later, why culinary school of all things? Are you I don't know if I want to open a restaurant. I don't know what I'm going to try and do. And then here we are in 2026, and all of the organizational capabilities, your leadership capabilities, your culinary, your time, all of the things that you bring to bear, you are uniquely equipped, like few people in the city, to be where you are, and the meeting place of the preparation that God has had in your life and the need in which you've stepped into is just breathtaking to watch. It's amazing.
But it's a lesson in stepping out and
Totally
stepping
is.
into that passion, that thing. Because my question for you next, Jim, is 5 years out, 10 years out, you learned how to redirect. You've got a lot of experience doing that right now. What next? How do you think about the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years that we're going to have?
Well, that's interesting, because I know I'm still have a passion to cook. That's not going to go away. And I love to have dinner parties. I track my menus, so if you ever come to my house, you never get the same thing twice.
I love that.
Of course you do.
Do you fold napkins?
Yeah, and I also track napkin folds, so that if you, depending on now at Christmas time, I do admit you always get the Christmas tree fold, because my wife likes to put the baby's breath in the napkin and stuff. But if it's not there, you're not going to get the same napkin fold. So it's like having my own little restaurant. I plan 4-course meals, maybe 5-course sometimes, and I get to experiment and play, and that's a blast for me. I had 11 people at the house last night for a 5-course meal. It was just a lot of fun. And so when we start to talk about, well, what are you going to do in 5 or 10 years to make that meal that I served last night? I started on Monday to start to prep for that, and making soup and making the different courses I could make in advance, and getting everything set so that when my guests came, it would come together really fast. That's fun. So I might end up doing a little bit more of that, but that's not really an overall plan from a standpoint of after being on a board and supporting an organization like Le Soup, what's next? I hope to be able to stay on the board in the next 10 years as I continue to contribute to Le Soup and supporting our expansion and doing whatever I can to help with that. I think that, and that's supporting the new leaders as they come into Le Soup and helping them with their career, if that is with Le Soup or if they have aspirations that Le Soup is a stepping stone, that's okay for me. And just helping young leaders continue to develop their skills.
That's great.
You say you do dinners at your house, and you do think maybe you could have those social engagements at your house be with particular people that need to connect to do things, but you're the reason why they're all getting together. You know what I'm saying? You're sort of conducting your own little group there that they have something to talk about, but then you're contributing with the place and the meal, and you're still bringing your cooking to life, but you're helping people create something else, if you don't understand what I'm getting at.
I do. Last night was a meal that I have. I have a men's group that I'm part of. I mentioned before that's how I got involved with Susie. That suggestion by one of them, and that's who we had over last night. And it's just a group of men that share their faith in God, and we meet every Wednesday morning, and then once a year, I have them all over for dinner, and it's just a lot of fun and very rewarding. Yeah. And we have the wives too, and so it's creating community.
Yeah.
If people want to go buy the soup off the shelf, where can they find it?
At our facility at 915 East McMillan. We're open Monday through Friday, and you can come in and buy the soup off the shelf. We're not a soup kitchen, so you can't come in. We don't have a license to serve people in our facility. We can sell the soup, but all of our soup is done through distribution.
Again, as I mentioned earlier, Dale and I had the opportunity to meet with Jim down at Le Soup, and he gave us a tour of the facility. We saw things. We enjoyed a meal because people that are volunteering there do get a meal, which is sort of cool. And it inspired me so much that, for a number of reasons. A, on the Redirect podcast, we're going to be doing more of this kind of stuff. Talking about people that have gone into nonprofits and operations and businesses in town here that are giving purpose not only in what they do to the community, but also for people that want to go there and volunteer. So, and we might even have somebody from Le Soup come in on another time, which I'd love to do, to have them talk more nitty-gritty about Le Soup. But Jim's done obviously a great job in sort of whetting our palate in regard to that. It's feeding on me, using all these words associated with cooking. I love the aspect that you're doing something and you're helping in a very big way. And also you're taking food that's spoiling or is going to be spoiling, and we repurpose it and we redirect it out to people that need it in order to live. Inspired me so much that I signed up. And I have to tell you, there are so many roles that you can do within Le Soup. I right now,
as a volunteer,
I am in the aspect of a deliverer. I am a food runner at this point. So I have gone online. I filled out an application. It comes on in, you're approved. Then you go through a video training aspect of things that you need to do when you pick up, as well as when you drop off. And then I went out and did it. And it took an hour of my day to go to Le Soup and drop off the goods and then come back to Le Soup and fill out the paperwork, and off I went. And I've signed up to do 2 more, and Jackie and I are going to be signing up on the kitchen help side, that we can go on in and start chopping food and helping prep as something that we can do as a couple because we like to cook. And so I just, this whole process of Redirect and having you here, Jim, and having been exposed to the Le Soup experience has now found something in my life that I'm now doing, and I feel really cool that I'm able to help with the organization. And it's just so fun to see something go from here to there to there.
It's another great story. For those who are, immediately start thinking, well, I'm just going to go work at a nonprofit, and try to put myself in, find that passion, find what you love to do, find out what you were really good at doing, and find, a place to do it, and your love for cooking. Certainly, Jim, your passion for being a chef has led you to this story. but you gotta step out. You gotta go out there and do it. Sign up like Curt did, and you're tapping, and who knows where it's going to go. We love that. Why not?
What if?
Why not? What if? Get out there and kind of do it. And this is a great story of people that can do that or will do that.
And if people want to go sign up, where can they go?
Go to the website, www.lesoup.org. You can just follow the prompts and do volunteering. And there's as Curt mentioned, he's doing the role of a runner, picking up soup at Le Soup and then delivering it to an organization. You can look at our logistics are handled by a company called Food Rescue, and so the outbound logistics and the inbound logistics is handled by them, which is really easy as a volunteer to look and say, oh, well, I see that there's an open run, and that's close to my house, so I could go pick up go pick up the groceries or the food at the store, and then take it down to Le Soup, and you can look at the different runs and see which ones are convenient for you.
What's also cool about that, too, is I clicked a thing on there that I'm available. So then every day I get an alert from them that say, hey, we need a pickup, or hey, we need a drop off. And if I'm available, I can respond to that and off I go. So I'm now in their system, and we're now having communication with that, which is great. And even in the kitchen help side, it's not only just processing food. If you want to work on the loading dock to sort of help load the cars when the people pull up, that's a part of a job that you can do that's associated with kitchen work and all this. There's so much to do based upon what you want to do it or what you want to do. And that's the whole point of it all. To Dale's point, yeah, you can just sign up and go and do something. But this sort of hits something in my heart again that makes me want to be a part of it. Don't do it because Curt's doing it. It's the idea that what do you want to do? What motivates you? What hits your heart that you say, hey, I want to get more involved? And you find stuff and it becomes a reality. And I just, Jim, this experience has been great, learning more about you. And I just love how you have just shared yourself with so many people, and that's me included. So thank you very much for being here today.
And thank you very much for volunteering. We really appreciate it. We have over 600 volunteers, and without volunteers, that our organization would not work. And as far as volunteering in the kitchen and doing food prep, you don't need to be a chef. You have to be able to wash your hands and come in and use a knife. And follow some pretty simple directions. And it's fun because on different days at different hours, there's actually some of the volunteers have formed a small little community because they come every week. And they're seeing the same people who they didn't know before, and making new friends and new relationships.
Yeah, and another thing that I noticed on the website, and when we were there the day itself, that if you're an organization, a place of work, and you want to do something with your workers, you could probably reach Le Soup and say, can we come in as a team and do a team project together, something like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We do team building exercises. Procter & Gamble was in there the other day, and down in our lower level where they were packaging meals. And so the meal line has 4 to 6 people on it. They're down there, they're talking, playing the radio, having fun, putting together the meal kits and putting them through our sealer and packaging them up. And so there's opportunities like that too.
Right.
So good.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for joining us on the Redirect Podcast. Big thanks to the University of Cincinnati's 1819 Innovation Hub for allowing us to use the eSports recording studio to record today's podcast. Catch up on all the Redirect Podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcast. To begin your Redirect journey, head over to redirect-u.com. Want to connect with the Redirect team? Feel free to email us at info@redirect-u.com. Remember, there's purpose in your life, so find it and go do something about it.
Hey, I've got one more comment. The Redirect Podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We engage in an open, honest conversations about personal growth, life transitions, and the lessons we've learned through our own experiences. While we speak as experts in our own lives, we are not licensed therapists, medical professionals, or certified coaches. The content shared on the Redirect podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of qualified professionals for any physical, mental, or emotional concerns that you may have. We're grateful to share this space with you and hope that our stories inspire reflection and connection. If you're in need of more support, we encourage you to connect with a trusted professional who can help.